Yeah, and the way that I understand that, and this again is not dogmatic for the listeners, is my opinion, is in a very analogous way to the angels that ended up on the rebellious army side through a draft or being in a territory that ended up being part of the attacking army. The good angels that were in a territory that ended up being part of the good army, or that were drafted into the good army. But the whole issue that we're talking about here is free will. Any angel at all that had not made a free will choice,
right,
would need to, and they would, by whatever method, eventually end up in an Adam man flesh body here with their, quote, junk DNA turned off so they don't remember who they were.
Mm-hmm.
And that is both good and bad angelic spirits and souls were put, actually, let me clarify, angelic souls were put into Adam man bodies. I do believe the spirit is a different issue, having talked with Pastor Wilhelmsen, that the spirit is in fact either dark light of the enemy or light of Jesus. So I wanted to clarify that distinction. But the souls of the angels that did not make a free will choice were then later required to serve this training ground, this prison planet, ultimately.
I've got something I've got to read to you, because I sent this to you a long time ago, but I think you misplaced it or never got it. I'm going to pull it up real quick. You'll hold on just a second.
Okay.
Because this information is going to clarify all of what you just said, and it's going to tie a lot of all this together. Because one thing that people forget is that even though we have a tendency towards good or evil, we have both with us. We have the dual nature, the duality with us. And I'm going to read something. It's like, in Daniel, it talks about he saw a watcher and a holy one that came down. And what he's talking about, what Daniel is talking about in that particular passage, is about how we have an angel on our left side, which is a wicked angel, and an angel on our right side, which is a good angel, and that we can follow either or, and that is the free will determination. So I'm going to read this to you, and then I'm going to get you to comment on this, Paul. This is from a book that most people had never heard about. It's called The Shepherd of Hermas. And this is mandate number 6. It says this: I charge thee, saith he, in my first commandment, to guard faith and fear and temperance. Yes, sir, say I, but now, saith he, I wish to show thee their powers also, that thou mayest understand what is the power and effect of each one of them. For their effects are twofold. Now they are prescribed alike to the righteous and the unrighteous. So all people have this that I'm about to describe. Do thou, therefore, trust righteousness, but trust not unrighteousness. For the way of righteousness is straight, but the way of unrighteousness is crooked. But walk thou in the straight and level path, and leave the crooked one alone. For the crooked way has no tracks, but only pathlessness and many stumbling stones, and is rough and thorny. So it is therefore harmful to those who walk in it. But those who walk in the straight way walk on the level and without stumbling, for it is neither rough nor thorny. Thou seest then that it is more expedient to walk in this way. I am pleased, sir, say I, to walk in this way. Thou shalt walk, he saith. Yea, and whosoever shall turn unto the Lord with his whole heart shall walk in it. Hear now, saith he, concerning faith. This is the important part. There are 2 angels with a man, one of righteousness and one of wickedness. How then, sir, say I, shall I know their workings, seeing that both of these angels dwell with me? Hear, saith he, and understand their workings. The angel of righteousness is delicate and bashful and gentle and tranquil. When then this one enters into thy heart, Forthwith he speaketh with thee of righteousness, of purity, of holiness, and of contentment, of every righteous deed and of every glorious virtue. When all these things enter into thy heart, know that the angel of righteousness is with thee. Then these are the works of the angel of righteousness. Trust him, therefore, and his works. Now see the works of the angels of the wickedness also. First of all, he is quick-tempered and bitter and senseless, and his works are evil, overthrowing the servants of God. Whenever then he entereth into thy heart, know him by his works. How I shall discern him, sir? I reply, I know not. Listen, saith he. When a fit of angry temper or bitterness comes upon thee, know that he is in thee. Then the desire of much business and costliness, of many viands and drinking bouts, and of many drunken fits and of various luxuries which are unseemly, and the desire of women and avarice and haughtiness and boastfulness, and whatsoever things are akin and like to these, when these things enter into thy heart, know that the angel of wickedness is with thee. Do thou therefore, recognizing his works, stand aloof from him, and trust him in nothing. For his works are evil and expedient for the servants of God. Here then thou hast the workings of both angels. Understand them, and trust the angel of righteousness. But from the angel of wickedness stand aloof, for his teaching is evil in every matter. For though one be a man of faith, and then desire, and the desire of this angel enter into his heart, that man or that woman must commit some sin. And if again a man or a woman be exceedingly wicked, and the works of the angel of righteousness come into that man's heart, he must of necessity do something good. Thou seest then, saith he, that it is good to follow the angel of righteousness, and to bid farewell to the angel of wickedness. This commandment declareth what concerneth faith, that thou mayest trust the works of the angel of righteousness, and doing them may livest unto God. But believe that the works of the angel of wickedness are difficult, so by not doing them thou shalt live unto God. That's it.
Wow, that's the Book of Hermes?
Shepherds, the Shepherd of Hermes, mandate number 6. Hey, Brandy.
Okay.
Yeah, most people have never heard of this. Witch.
Yeah, I think I read it before, but I guess I wasn't prepared for the understanding at that time. So what I'm hearing is there's at least 2 angels around us at all times.
All times.
But I'm also hearing that those angels can enter us in some fashion, or at least influence our thoughts and behaviors.
Right.
And we are to be aware of that. Of course, I think it's difficult, at least for me. Like, let's say I get angry at somebody driving in traffic. It's hard for me to just ignore the anger or whatever. But recognizing what it is, I think what you read doesn't give us necessarily a solution. It just explains the situation.
Right, exactly. Well, here's the thing, is that when people become righteous or they start to walk on the path of righteousness, they think there's no wicked angels with them. But there's that wickedness, there's those evil thoughts in our minds, there's those behaviors of hatefulness and revenge and lust, and there's those things that are with us all the time. So we have these 2 angels constantly at battle with us, the free will, the determination, the consciousness that is in us that knows good, and the wickedness in us that wants us to commit sin and to do evil. So always, because a lot of times, especially for people that have mental challenges or mental problems, they hear both voices all the time, and they act on both of them. But what they have to discern is that one is an angel of wickedness and one is an angel of righteousness, and you have to learn which one to listen to and which one to ignore. Because if you listen to both, then you're going to commit both acts of goodness and acts of wickedness, and you're going to think you're just listening to your higher angel. when we have good and bad angels with us at all times contending.
Okay. At this point, Zen, if it's a good time, do you want to continue on into the second age and the third age, and then I want to talk about the races?
Sure. Well, basically, the second world age is going to be this 7,000-year timeline that is repeated over and over and over in many different scriptures. It keeps saying it over the 70 weeks of Daniel. It's always this particular timeline. And that once this particular harvest, as is mentioned in Matthew chapter 13, where the Lord said he's going to send the angels as the reapers, and that the wheat and the tares will be then separated, that we're allowed to grow up together, that this would be the judgment. This would be when the Lord returns and all the people of the world see the sign of the Son of Man and the coming of the age. And then Satan and his fallen angels, they see the sign too. They see the condemnation coming. They're weeping and gnashing of teeth. Every knee shall bow, every tongue confess. All the books will be open. The book of life will be open. Determination will be set. Our own actions, words, thoughts, deeds will convict us, because it's not anybody but ourselves and our own actions and deeds and the things that were written in the book of life that are going to condemn us. Everything we do, we condemn ourselves. And so we're going to be judged according to all those thoughts, actions, deeds, and that we committed and, influenced and controlled while we're in the flesh and in these bodies during this second world age. And that those had already come prior, that had already passed away, that all the souls, of the dead will be given up at that time, and there will be a great jury, and everybody will be judged in that moment, in that day, and that everybody will know, all the sins and all the different things that each one of us committed and the wickedness of each.
So what you're saying, Zen, is the second age is really the 7,000 years from Adam's fall, and
right.
It culminates in this judgment that you're describing.
Yes, and that judgment is laid out in Revelation 19. It's written about everywhere.
Okay, so is it 6,000 plus 1,000 of the new millennia?
Yes, but there's strangeness about that, about the new millennia, because the new millennia is connected to the first resurrection, and it's my opinion that the first resurrection occurred when Christ died on the cross and went down into hell, spent 3 days in Sheol, and then at that point took all the patriarchs, all of the righteous who were then confined to Sheol, because none of them went to paradise. They all went to Sheol. And he went down there and then took them all up into paradise and emptied hell. Emptied hell, took all of them up to paradise with them. And that's, in my opinion, the first resurrection. And I think that the 1,000 years, that the millennial reign, is when the patriarchs were in paradise with Yahushua, while the church is being established here on this planet, leading up to the time that the harvest, the judgment. Because it also talks about that after that harvest, that's the end of the second world age, and then the third world age is an eternal age. It doesn't talk about that there's 1,000 years of this millennial reign, and then there's another releasing of Satan, and then finally we go into the third world age. That doesn't make sense to me.
So
I know a lot of people see it that way, but I don't see it that way.
So how do you see it then? Are we at the end of right now? Are we at the end of the 6,000 years, or are we at the end of the 7,000 years?
I think we're at the end of the age. At the end of the 7,000 years, I think we're at the end of the total age, because the harvest is the judgment, is the day of the Lord, is when everything will be set right, And then after that judgment, when New Jerusalem is brought down, it's my opinion that that is when the third world age begins, and that's an eternal age. There's no end to that age. There's no more duality. There's no more suffering. The lamb will lay down with the lion. Everything will be back to being vegetarians. We'll all speak Hebrew again, the original language of the Adamics. And there will be a restoration to our bright natures. And the angels then will be judged. And a lot of those that have lived righteously in the flesh, they will be the ones that judge the angels. And the angels I'm talking about are the fallen angels that are about to be condemned and sent to outer darkness and about to be wiped out from existence completely. Because that's what it says happens. It doesn't say... I mean, I know a lot of people expect that after the judgment, we're going to spend 1,000 years, reigning with Christ in this New Jerusalem, and then after that, there's another rebellion. But, if you study with the harvest and with the judgment, that's finality. That's the end of the age, and that's also the end of evil and duality. There is no more suffering after that.
So you're saying that when Christ comes a second time, that's the final event.
That's it.
And you believe that we're at that point now. It's not 1,000 years into the future.
No.
Okay.
No, we're at that point now. In my opinion, we're already into the Great Tribulation, and that it will end. Because there's a whole sign. You know how it talks about in Revelation, there's a sign of the woman clothed in the sun with the moon beneath her feet and the crown of 12 stars? Well, that happens on September, on the Feast of Trumpets, September 2017 or 2018, I believe. I'll have to look it up again. But it's an alignment in the heavens. The woman clothed in the sun is the sign of Virgo, and it's the sign of Virgo where she has a crown of 12 stars. There's this weird planetary alignment where there's these, all these different planets, including the moon, which is beneath her feet. And it only occurs at this one particular time. And it's at that time that it says that Satan looks up and there's this great gnashing of teeth because he sees, when he sees that sign, that it's over. That it's over.
Yeah, that's interesting. In fact, that aligns perfectly with the research of Stuart Best and his DVD, The Omega Code.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that one.
Oh, you have to watch that one. He shows through multiple cycles. They all converge at 2017 or 18, right in that point.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. Even Daniel's timeline, it ends then, too.
Yeah.
It's 70 weeks from the commandment of the Jerusalem being called forth, 1947,
And I'm in agreement with you also, Brother Zen, that the tribulation has started. I think our calendars have been altered. And according to the research of David Flynn, his book, The Temple at the Center of Time, which also is hard to refute, it would appear that the tribulation started July 11th, 2009. So
I'll have to look into that too.
Which is interesting because that puts a 3.5-year point right at the end of 2012, beginning of 13.
Right.
So that would be the midpoint, and that would all align basically with some of the teachings.
Right. Yeah, I think, and see, that's the beautiful thing. The Lord is really blessing us all with discernment. And I know a lot of these guys don't agree, specifically with our work that me and Dr. Joy do as far as the Lucifer and, being the father of Cain and all that, and that we're really ostracized for that. But I think a lot of the teachings are all coming into alignment. And I think also, too, that at some point the Lord's going to reveal to all these people that are, like the David Flynns or the others, about the correctness of the Cain line and the serpent seed, too. I think that many of them don't want to accept it and don't want to look into it because there's such controversy over it. And I don't know why that is. there's such controversy just over that one thing, but there is, but I think that many people are being led to that truth too.
The issue that we're talking about here is free will. Any angel at all that had not made a free will choice,
right,
would need to, and they would, by whatever method, eventually end up in an Adam man flesh body here with their, quote, junk DNA turned off so they don't remember who they were.
Mm-hmm.
And that is both good and bad. Angelic spirits and souls were put, actually, let me clarify, angelic souls.
I'm going to read to you because I sent this to you a long time ago, but I think you misplaced it or never got it. I'm going to pull it up real quick. You'll hold on just a second.
Okay.
Because this information is going to clarify all of what you just said, and it's going to tie a lot of all this together. Because one thing that people forget is that even though we have a tendency towards good or evil,
we're put into Adam man bodies. I do believe the spirit is a different issue, having talked with Pastor Williamson, that the spirit is in fact either dark light of the enemy or light of Jesus. So I wanted to clarify that distinction. But the souls of the angels that did not make a free will choice were then later required to serve this training ground, this prison planet, ultimately.
I've got evil. We have both with us. We have the dual nature, the duality with us. And I'm going to read something. It's like, in Daniel, it talks about he saw a watcher and a holy one that came down. And what he's talking about, what Daniel is talking about in that particular passage, is about how we have an angel on our left side, which is a wicked angel, and an angel on our right side.
Yeah, and the way that I understand that, and this again is not dogmatic for the listeners, it's my opinion, is in a very analogous way to the angels that ended up on the rebellious army side through a draft or being in a territory that ended up being part of the attacking army. The good angels that were in a territory that ended up being part of the good army or that were drafted into the good army. But the whole issue